I told you that we were going to have a big idea and gather a crowd, and that's the part that we're on. We've made it all the way back around. We took small steps in the beginning. We built some connections, and now we need to gather that crowd so that we have some people to work with, right? Because even with all of us in the room today, we cannot do it all ourselves. We're going to need the help of lots of people. And so you have my remote, and we shall start right here. So, thank you, sir. Okay. My first piece of advice, don't over-organize. You don't need another committee. You don't need new organizations. You don't even need to go to the existing organizations. You don't need anyone's permission. Did Tom leave? Can we get by with this? And don't ask the county commissioners. Just don't even tell them you're doing it. Just go do it.
I'm good with it.
I think that's the deal. And honestly, I believe that to be the case, which is most of your great county commissioners are really happy for you to go do stuff. Now, some of us have not really great county commissioners, or have a few of those, right, who are not happy for you to go do things. Well, then just don't tell them. What they don't know will not hurt them. So I used to do this slide with a list of organizations, and it used to say, go see the Chamber of Commerce and the Main Street, and talk to your city council, and talk to the county commissioners, and check with the library. And I mean, you know what it says now? People. Go find people. Look for the new people in town who've started a kayak club because they like to go kayaking. Look for people that just get together to do stuff. In my own hometown of Alva, Oklahoma, there were a group of mothers who decided our playground equipment was toast. We needed new playground equipment really bad. And so they just started making it happen. They started raising money. And because it's a city-owned park, they did have to go to the city. And eventually, after 2 years, they elected a president, so that they would have an official person to be in charge. But up until then, they just organized it and did it. Do you know what one tool has made this possible? There we go, who said it? Yay, you get it, social media. How many of you have your phone within arm's reach right now? Hold it up, do you have your phone within arm's reach? Look at this, in 2 seconds notice, half of the crowd has their phone at if I gave you 5 seconds, you'd all had your phones out. That is the tool that, back in the day of manual typewriters, first-class letters, committee meetings made a lot of sense. What did he say?
What's the matter with typewriters?
There's not a thing wrong with typewriters, baby. Just use them. That's all right. But in the day when you use your typewriters, then you need some structure to be able to make things happen, so that you can send information, receive information back. You've got to have some organizing structure. Today, with a cell phone, we don't really need an organizing structure. And you can actually bring your typewriter and join right in, because we can connect with each other. And we can connect so instantly. If you need to organize a group of people to go to dinner, you do not resort to having a committee and calling for the minutes and the report of the treasurer in order to go to dinner. You can just organize it. And we're going to apply that same skill to everything you're doing. So don't over-organize, and just look for the people who are already doing things. You're looking for people who have started crazy businesses, people that have put forward positive ideas into your community, people who have not waited for permission. This is Jared Brott on the right. Jared is the big guy holding the chicken. His shirt says, "What did I step in?" On the back it says, "It smells like fun." He started a menagerie by accident. Well, these things happen. He and his kids were showing chickens at the county fair because it was something he could do with his boys, and they liked doing it. And so they started buying a few more animals, and they bought some exotic cattle, and they bought a llama, and then they bought a camel, and then it's a menagerie now, okay? So now it's a crazy business. And I was talking to him at an event here recently, and he said, they do a hay bale maze every fall. He said, that's just really changed our business completely. We have so much business with that. It's crazy. But I'm looking for something to do in the spring that we can do with that. He's also really big with the arts, and so he's interested in doing things that help support the arts in the community. He's the kind of crazy idea person you are looking for. He holds no official titles. When we did the introductions and we went through everybody who holds an official title, he would not have had a chance to stand up because he wasn't one of those things. He's just Jared with his chickens and his menagerie and his kids. And that's exactly who you're looking for. Those are the people who make things happen. That's my sister on the other side. Don't tell her I use this photo. She'll kill me. Okay, you need to value those crazy entrepreneurs. You have to show them that they matter. And the way you do that is you talk to them. And you walk up to them and you speak to them. This guy is Fred Carl Jr. And he is a custom home builder. That was his trade. His father was a custom builder, his grandfather was a builder, and his great-grandfather actually did building and lumber back in pioneer days. So that's generations of the family in the building trade. His wife asked him for a better stove for her kitchen. He couldn't find one. He couldn't source one like she wanted. She grew up with one of those big Chambers stoves. You know those old, somebody knows those old Chambers type ranges. He couldn't find one, so he started trying to figure out how to make one for her. And that's his nights, evenings, weekends project that he's working on the side while he's still building custom houses. Well, it's really easy in small towns to kind of categorize people by, your whole family are builders, and so we've decided who you are. We've kind of put you in this niche. No, actually the people in his hometown, which is Greenwood, Mississippi, he said, I actually had a really hard time of it at first. We thought about pulling up stakes and moving to the state capital or to a bigger city, but people would stop me on the street and say, hey Fred, how's your stove project going? There was no way, he said, that he would have gotten that kind of support in any other community, and he couldn't have done his project, which turned into the Viking Range Corporation, anywhere but Greenwood. When you speak to your local entrepreneurs, when you tell them they matter, when you listen to their concerns, you are changing the future of your community. You may not get a Viking Range Corporation, but you'll be just as happy to have one business that grows and one person that improves their own prosperity and improves the prosperity of the community. That's the difference it makes. You can also give awards. Now, most of you in this room have an organization you could work with to give some awards. But you don't need an organization. You don't need anyone's permission. You can just start some pirate awards that nobody even knows who you are. You've just decided we need some awards in town. This is in Norfolk County in Ontario, and they do Entrepreneur of the Year, but they also do the Young Entrepreneur of the Year. So this is their Young Entrepreneur of the Year. She does a fun and funky women's boutique downtown. That sends a great message. An essential part of gathering your crowd is sending that public message about what matters. So you can send it one-on-one, like we talked to Fred and made sure he understood that we value his business and his side project. Or you can do it in a group. You can make a public statement that serves as a focal point for the discussion that you want to have. What other awards could we give? We have Entrepreneur of the Year, Young Entrepreneur of the Year. We could have Best New Business. We could have Best Business that hired its first employee. Like every business that hired its first employee, we could give them a certificate and a round of applause and public recognition, because that's a big step. The ones that reach 10 employees, we could recognize all of those. Best Pivot for somebody that changed the direction of their business. Best Tiny Business, right? Who's got the best little business booth going? We should totally recognize that. So give crazy awards for lots of them. I dare you to give an award for the best business that almost worked, but not quite. That sends a message that you value the fact that they tried. We appreciate you trying. Thank you for being part of our community. You're starting a public discussion that's going to draw people in. You're changing the nature of the discussion. You're changing the climate of your community to be more of a welcoming climate for new business. You can post flyers. You can post signs. Teresa Miller from Monona County in Iowa told me about She collects shop local memes. You see them online that says, when you shop at a local business, you're not buying a third house for the CEO, you're supporting, a local business that hires one more person and pays for ballet shoes and, that kind of thing. So she collects these from online, and she got the idea of just sending them to all the local business owners. Everybody prints one out, the same one, and we all hang them up at the same time and start a conversation. Let everybody know what we value and what matters to us. So that doesn't have to be shop local. It can be any issue that you're trying to draw a crowd around locally. You can also go so far as to post an entire sign. Concrete, Washington. It's a mountain town. Some of you can relate that when you pull into town, you kind of run up against the mountain here, and so you have to turn left or right, and it's not really clear where's the main part of town. So they put up this huge sign and listed every single business in town. And I mean they put up the pool hall and everybody. They were not shy. They put up everybody. And then they listed off the things that make them proud to be a community. Their skate park, their community garden, their sculpture park where they have all their chainsaw sculptures of bears. I don't know why bears, but that's their thing. And then even if you look at their sign, the whole thing is a big piece of chainsaw art telling the history of their community. It's got mining and it's got timber going on, so it's got the whole discussion of who they are. It's like this huge public statement of who they are as a town. And then they have some blank spaces, and I really wish that they would go ahead and paint on those available, like room for you to grow, please start your business in concrete. We welcome you. Think of the positive message that this whole sign sends about who we are as a town. That's the kind of thing that helps draw the conversation to you. You can do this also if you're an online person, then you can Pinterest it. Where's my Pinterest people? All right, so pin it up, baby. Just pin up a town. This is from Crow's Nest Pass in Alberta, Canada, and they put together a board of what to do in Crow's Nest Pass. And those of you that were talking about the canyon businesses earlier will sympathize because this is 5 communities strung across a mountain pass for a total population of 5,000 people strung out in 5 little towns across the mountain pass in Crow's Nest Pass, Alberta. And this is a public declaration. We have things to do. We have local businesses that are fun. And because you can make it a group board, you can pull people into the discussion. It doesn't have to be just you. And as a bonus, did you know you can embed a Pinterest board in another website? Like you could talk other local websites into embedding that list in their site, and it would stay synced with your Pinterest board. So as you updated that, it would update all the other websites. Just a thought. Okay. Now, weed whackers and window cleaner. All right, this is a story from Roscommon County in Michigan. My colleague Deb Brown was touring their downtown, doing a little walkthrough, which is one of the things we love to do, is walk through your downtown and see what's going on and offer some advice. And they got to the end of the street, and next to the building that needs to be torn down is an existing bar that's still there. It's a bar and grill. It's a great restaurant in one of the old line, been in business for years kind of things. The main entrance for that is the back alley side. And so everybody comes in the back door. The owner comes in the back door. The main street side, nobody ever goes in and out of that because it's, to them, kind of the back of their business. But that's the side that everybody sees from Main Street. And it's grown up in weeds, and the windows are dirty because they never see it, and they don't think about it. So the people that are walking through with her are going, man, we wish we could get him to do something about it. She said, have you asked him? Well, no, we haven't talked to him. What have you done? Well, we haven't really done anything. So what would be the absolute worst way to handle that? I mean, I think the worst way you could handle that would be like call the city hall and get an enforcement letter sent to him, right? The second worst way would be like the anonymous letter. Clean up your friend, it looks terrible. Unsigned. Anonymous. The third worst way would be like call him. Do you know your front looks terrible? So what did Deb suggest? Deb suggested, why don't we, the group of people who care enough to come through this walkthrough with me, why don't we get your weed whackers that you guys own and your window cleaner, your Windex, and a roll of paper towels, and let's just clean it up. And then let's send a letter to the business owner that does not say, hey, we cleaned that up because you needed it, but just says, thank you for keeping open an important and vital business in our downtown. because he knows that things slip through the cracks. What he doesn't hear often enough is thank you. Talk about sending a message about the type of town you want to be. That's the kind of town that you want to be. Okay, coffee and calendars. And this goes back to, it was Tom who said that, how many of you have your city council actually sits down with your school board? Well, here is the story about that. This is an idea that actually also came out of Concrete Washington, oddly enough. And the idea is that you just bring your calendar and you go for coffee with somebody that represents any other organization. And if you hold no official role in any organization, you just talk about the projects that matter to you because you're all involved in something. You're making things happen, whether there's an official thing going on or not. So why not just bring your coffee and your calendars and sit down and talk about it? And anybody that represents any official can join us as well, any official group or any organization, and just let's get in one room and talk about the future. Cooperation will happen by accident. Like people won't even mean to, and it will end up happening. The purpose is not, don't get distracted by the idea of the calendar. Sometimes people want to take that and say, oh, we can make an online calendar and we can make it coordinated and everybody can post their events. It's not really about the calendar. It's about getting people in a room to talk about the future. That's what changes everything, and that's how you gather your crowd. Now, each of those examples was to make your big idea the focal point for the discussion that you want to have about the quality of life, the future of your town, how you want to make a prosperous community. Make your big idea the focal point for that discussion. So those are the three pieces that we've talked about. Gather your crowd, build connections, take small steps. And it all comes together. That is how you make your community more open to new ideas, which we pointed out at the beginning is the hardest thing to do. It's to make your community open to new ideas so that you'll be ready for the future, whatever the future brings for you. Now here's the challenge. How do you recognize what that looks like? Can you identify the behaviors that go with this? So there's one more page in your handout that actually has the idea-friendly behaviors on it. You've lost your handout. I feel terrible for you. What happened to the handout that was covered in hearts? Where'd she go? I liked that. All right, so the idea-friendly behaviors. While you dig that out, I want to point out to you that the time has passed when a few influential people could gather in a room and decide the future of your town. The future of your town will be decided by the actions taken every day by the regular people based on their belief about the future of their town and their own role in it. Notice this doesn't say the time is passing. It says the time has passed when a few people decided the future of your community. It will be the crowd. It is what everybody does every day that makes your community happen. Community happens when people talk to each other. When I encourage you to crowdsource the future of your town, I'm telling you what's already going on right now. Governments are stretched thinner and thinner and are more focused than ever on seriously on those core key responsibilities that they absolutely must do. Therefore, more and more of what decides what our town is really like is people and what they do. So let's look at those behaviors and let's run something through there. We've got 10 minutes, so I'm going to make this quick, but I'm going to give you 5 minutes at your table. We're going to talk about it right quick, but then I'm going to give you a chance at your table to just think and write down a little bit about what is one project that you're involved with that right now is a small group that you could make into a crowd group. Make it into a crowd project where lots of people had a tiny part of it that made a difference. How's that for a challenge? Change the way we think. Because on the left-hand side, we have the way that it's always been done. We need a formal organization. who are in control, who issue orders. There will be notes, we will have minutes, and we will follow up. If you did not do the thing you promised to do, Mark, we are going to come get you. Right? That's the way it has been done. We will call you out. Are you recognizing any groups that you're a part of? Okay, only a few people. Only a few people can be involved because they are the important, influential people. And they will decide for everyone how it will work. They will decide in isolation, closed off. Now, there was a public meeting, but it was on a Tuesday at 9:30 and nobody could come. All right, big. We're only focused on doing the biggest projects possible so that when we fail, we don't want anyone to know about it. So what's the new way? The new way is informal. We don't need another committee. We don't need the organization. We just are going to have chaos in a good way. Because what is happening there is that the crowd, a whole bunch of people are trying a whole bunch of ideas at the same time. They overlap and it makes a mess and people are doing things at the same time. And that offers you a test of what works and what doesn't. And then you get to play the role of venture capitalist of ideas, right? You get to look at the ideas, you know about everything that's going on, and then you invest your public resources very carefully in only the most promising. And you help redirect people from one thing that didn't work to something new. That's a whole different way of looking at it. It's much more open, and everything is as small as we can make it. What's the smallest possible way we could test this out? And failure is actually valuable. I want to tell you the story of the sidewalks in Winoka, Oklahoma. Winoka, Oklahoma received a grant for new sidewalks and streetscape. And so the architect, they made it all the way through the process to where the architect drew up plans. There were 3 sets of plans that had 3 different ways that they could do the streetscape. How were they going to decide? They brought them in front of the council. This is a town of 900 people. Everybody on that council is a volunteer, a business owner, a retired person. These are not urban planners, okay? These are not people that understand the implications of every single thing. So they sat on those 3 sets of plans for years, unable to make a decision. You're laughing because you've seen it done, right? You've seen it done. I've seen it done. This was Winoka, bless their hearts. They sat on those plans at least 3 years. I have no idea how they ultimately made their decision. But what I thought would have been awesome would have been to take the plans in hand and go out into the street with some duct tape and mark off how it would look. Oh, there's supposed to be a bump out here from the edge. Let's draw the bump out with duct tape. Oh, it's supposed to have brick pavers. Who's got some bricks? Let's just set them down on top right here. Oh, it calls for a plant. Quick, somebody bring a potted plant and put it right here. And walk through it. And how much more fun would it have been if we could have also done like a pop-up festival at the same time and had a bunch of little businesses and activities and like a street festival, and we could all seen what the downtown would be like. And then we could have decided, then next week we're going to do the next set of plans and go, we really learned that these bump outs are awesome, or no plants right there, bad plan. There's a good reason that we don't want that way. Then they'd have had a basis to decide. What's the smallest possible way we could go about this? So the old way was formal, in control, the few people, just the city council got to decide. The new way was let's just informally, chaotically go out there and test it and see what it looks like in the smallest possible way. Completely different approach. So here's your task in the 5 minutes we have left, and I'm not going to make you report this out because we've got just 5 minutes left. What I want for you to do is to take your hand out. There's space there for you to write. I want you to think about one project you're involved with right now that's more like formal control of a few, and think about how you could break it up into small but meaningful parts that could be more informal, more chaotic in a good way, lots of little tests, okay? You've got 5 minutes to do that, and then I'll do just a quick wrap up there at the end. So 5 minutes. Robert for one thing, which is, Robert, you may notice, has some gray hair. He may not be exactly a spring chicken.
Not exactly.
Not exactly. So I just want you to know what Robert came rushing up to tell me, which is how much he appreciates all of this new way of doing things. We kind of have a pattern in our head that we're thinking, what happened to the guy with the little man bun, the really young guy, who's the youngest person? We have this idea in our head that you have to be young to appreciate this new way of doing things. So Robert, thank you so much for coming up and letting me embarrass you there at the end. And I have one other thing that came out of the discussions, which is Alan was telling me he's going to do the next presentation. This is a preview of his presentation. It's a photo of a community meeting. How many community meetings have you sat through? Can you count them? No. Alan said, one thing we've got to do is we've got to get these people out of here and we do something that we call street walking. And I said, I'm pretty sure Tom would say that's illegal too, but street walking, which is where they get everybody, and I loved the fact that he said everybody, and we just walk up and down the streets in downtown and look for opportunities. We look for things where we need to do a little weed whackers and Windex. We look for business opportunities. We look for a business that's not using their whole space where we could pop up some art on the walls there on just one wall. So thank you, Alan, for letting me borrow that example out of your presentation next. I do want to say I have given you a chance to go here to saveyour.town. Saveyour.town is a website /trends bonus, and I'm pretty sure that's in your handout. It's supposed to be. And there you can it'll send you a copy, a downloadable PDF of some information on those trends that are coming. Because those trends are your best club for kind of tapping people over the head a little bit and encouraging them to realize they need to break out of some old thinking patterns. The future's coming at us very quickly. And I want to take an indulgence of just another minute to say thank you, because you do the hardest, most important work in your communities. You are the people who make things happen. You're the people who work with tight resources. You deal with the most critical needs possible in the place that really touches my heart, which are the small towns and rural communities of the world. This is where real life happens in a big way, and community matters so much. And you all I appreciate everything that you do for your communities, because it could not possibly be more important. So thank you for all that you do, and thank you for letting me be a part of it today. Thank you all. We have a 10-minute break up next. Thank you.